that leaves us going back to yesterday's informational items, and I think we had left off. We finished 15D, and so we're now looking at 15E, which is the Heritage Project update and Deputy Director Dr. Cates.
You can have the hot seat.
Put copies of the handout on the back table if anybody wants to look at that. For the record, Patrick Cates. I handed out a report, a status report of the Heritage projects and where we're at with them in terms of processing contracts. All of the projects that were extended from last year, contracts have been executed and approved. So all of the FY11 extensions are all active and moving forward. All the FY12 projects are in various stages of completion. All contracts have been sent to the project proponents for signature. We have not received all of them back yet. Fraternity Desert Bighorn, we haven't received theirs back yet. That's not uncommon since they do their work later in the year. We do have Jersey Valley Cattle Company and Maxell Global Technologies in-house back and signed, and we're currently working on processing those. Have not received Pat Laughlin's project contract back, nor UNR's two projects. But we did get Corey Lytle's project for Lincoln Cab. They were real prompt. We got that back signed and got that approved by the Board of Examiners. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
My recollection last time we talked about the Heritage projects, there were a couple projects that hadn't finished up, and so the new contracts worked. You know, there had been no action on those. Does this mean that they've completed the 2010 projects and now are, where do we stand? Or is it 2011?
Well,
my recollection was that Maxell, the first Maxell wasn't finished, and I
right.
believe was it Strimler's, or was it one of the other ones?
Maxell and Stremler were two. Both of their old contracts were extended. So, for instance, Stremler, the fourth one from the top, he had $5,400 left. He has an active contract to spend that. My understanding is most of his work occurs over the winter. I don't think we've received any bills from him yet, but he has that much to work with. We have the other contract for him signed. He signed it. We have it in-house and are processing. On Maxell Global Technologies, their old contract was extended for $3,300. We recently received invoices. Back last week, we received invoices for June and July under that old contract, amounted to about $800. We do have the new contract in-house and then we're processing that. But excuse me. You know, I think we do have some concerns with that, because under the old contract, he was supposed to deliver to us a database and a report, and we haven't yet received that. To be fair, in a normal heritage contract, proponents have 90 days after the end of the year in order to provide their final report. However, this was a very unusual, atypical kind of heritage put a new contract forward until we get that database. I know my staff have had some contact with Maxon. I just got this report a couple days before the meeting, and I'm gonna go ahead and follow up with him next week and ask him when we can expect that database. We do have the new contract in-house. You know, one of the things that we had been talking about, and actually former Commissioner Lent proposed for changes to the NAC for these kind of projects, was to withhold a certain amount of payment until we got the final deliverable. We don't have that in that draft contract right now, but I feel pretty strongly that would be very prudent, and I'll see what Mr. Maxon has to say next week, but I'm concerned with that when I'm putting it forward until we get the old deliverables.
Commissioner Rain.
Thank you. Just a basic question. I see several of these contracts are out and haven't been received. If any of these people, like, see if I went and spoke to, and I haven't, Fraternity Desert Bighorn, and they had not yet seen it, then they can get another copy from you, or?
Oh, certainly. When I got this report, like I said, I got it a few days ago, I asked Gabe to go ahead and follow up with the people that haven't sent their contracts in to see where they're at with that.
So if they've lost it or something, they can just get a hold of your office, but these were all sent out on those dates.
Yeah, I know in the past, at Fraternity Desert Bighorn, we didn't process them right away just because of the timing, what they had to do. I mean, they just weren't as concerned about moving quickly.
Just, as an example, so there's several of them here. I mean, it looks like you've got 8, 9, 10, there's quite a few of them that are all under that same status. Now, once these get signed, this basically the end-out review process takes a couple weeks, depends.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the nature of the contract.
I see a bunch of these are previous ones. I mean, there's been a very similar one previously, so they should be pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, the old ones we got approved.
Okay, and then for the Board of Examiners, when's the next meeting for that, and what's our schedule on that to get them all approved?
The next Board of Examiners, I was looking at this yesterday, that we could get these to would be October. We're right up against the September deadline. I think it was Friday for the September deadline. So it would be October would be the next Board of Examiners we could get these to.
Okay, so if these people got them into you by September, they could reasonably expect it to be in the October deal, as long as it was.
Yeah, our internal deadline, I'd have to look on my computer, but it's like mid-September.
Yeah.
Check on that and get back to you, but it's.
So it's best to get them to you in August if they want them to be done
Yes.
through you guys by then.
Yes,
So they
but I've got a window of a few weeks to get them in to make the
So you get
October
October.
BOE. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Go ahead. Commissioner Allen.
Patrick, the Board of Examiner meets on a regularly scheduled basis, and that's like every other month or something?
Every month, they meet
Oh,
every month.
every month?
Yeah, but we have a lead time of, month and a half to get the material into them for.
Okay, so if something happened not to get to the Board of Examiners in October, they could still get there in November?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, because timing is important on some of these.
Sure. And I would just point out, a lot of them, they did have prior year contracts that have been extended, so there's certainly money available to do work in some of our continuations, like Pavlov and Strimlers. So they already have current contracts to work off of until they get new ones.
Just to follow up to that, then, if, going back to the Maxon contract, would you be submitting the new contract, even though it's been signed and everything, to the Board of Examiners prior to receiving the deliverable on the first contract? I guess as a follow-up, do we have discretion to hold up that process until we get that deliverable?
Yeah, I think it's in the best interest of the state to get that deliverable. We can always process it through, if he commits to giving it to us by a certain time frame, we can always continue the process and, yank it back if we don't get what we are expecting. But, what the original contract was, he had two pieces. He was supposed to give us an access database of the data that, he's been working on. We got two invoices for it. And he's also to give us an analysis of that data. His second phase is further analysis and peer review. So, we want want to make sure that we actually get that. You know, most heritage projects aren't of that nature. Usually somebody's out doing a habitat project and submitting bills to us after the fact, so it's a little unusual. I mean, it's the kind of due diligence that we would do with any of the normal end-out contracts. We had something like that. We wanted deliverable before we kept doing business with somebody.
Okay, any other commissioner comments on this? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Patrick, very much.
Thanks.
Okay, move on to F, litigation report, Deputy Attorney General Nguyen.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go through these cases briefly. For the first one, U.S. versus Wasley. This is an action involving federal, tribal, and mineral county claims for additional water, in addition to the water that's allowed under the Walker River Decree. Confidential settlement discussions commenced and then stopped. Recently, the tribe initiated and is pursuing additional settlement discussions. However, they're confidential. I am not the DAG on this case, but they are confidential, so even if I know what they are, I can't disclose them. But the parties are still attempting to reach a settlement. And the second matter, Wayne Hage, I know 2 meetings ago, there were some commissioners who were not happy with our involvement and really appealed to us to not be involved, but we are still involved. Excuse me, I have a cough drop in my mouth. We are still involved. We filed our amicus brief on February 14. Briefing is still in progress between the U.S. and the Hage estate. And I do not anticipate NDOW being involved in any further briefing, but if we are, I'll definitely inform the commission of that. I have a little synopsis here, but again, we've been involved in this case for over a decade. The complaint was filed in the 90s, and the reason we got involved was we introduced elk, and that was one of the allegations in the complaint was that the elk contributed to a taking of Mr. Hage's property. And so we actually sought to intervene, but we were denied that motion, and so we are intervening as an amicus party, which is a friend of the party, a friend of the court, excuse me. So we're providing the court with information, but we're not a party. We're just briefing it for the court's consideration. And number 3, Carson Lake and Pasture. We filed our appeal. We have a briefing schedule. Our opening brief is due on September 19. And I should also mention, I see it's not in here, that the Nevada Waterfowl Association is also a party to this appeal. And also the state engineer, we are all appealing the decision, asking for a higher transfer rate. Russell Elms versus Chris Lacey, this case is basically over. I'm just waiting for the party, Mr. Elms' attorney, to dismiss the rest of the case. The court dismissed 3 of the 4 counts. The remaining count is basically without merit, without the other 3 claims, so it's just a matter of time before that case is dismissed. Brian Chrissy versus NDOW, we filed our answer on May 21 last year, and we've engaged in some discovery, but there's no trial date set yet. No bear hunt, an update since I updated this litigation report. We got a decision a week or so ago, I believe, denying the No Bear Hunt organization's request to stop the hunt. And I think we've been informed that No Bear Hunt will not pursue this in the Nevada Supreme Court, so I believe this case is pretty much over. Number 7, the last one, the Cloud Foundation. Late yesterday, our motion to intervene was granted by the Ninth Circuit, so our first brief, I believe, is due on September 19th. And that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we have some new commissioners.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you. I believe you said that NDOW is no longer gonna be a party to this amicus brief? Is that-
No, I apologize if I was unclear. We are still involved, and as far as I know, there are no plans of not being involved in this case. We intend to remain involved in this case.
Oh, misunderstood.
Any other commissioner comments with regard to the litigation report? Okay, being none. Okay, we've already done the wood duck. Wolf listing status in Nevada, Chief of Game Larry Gilbertson.
Thank you, Chairman Macbeth. For the record, Larry Gilbertson, Department of Wildlife. The status of wolves in Nevada. Basically, microphone, Larry. Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna give a quick report on the status of wolves in Nevada. Essentially, the status hasn't changed a whole lot probably since the 1800s. If you look at historical observations of wolves in the newspapers and accounts and reports of harvest in the 1800s, they were occasional and usually talked about a single wolf, and some of the reports were actually coyotes. You gotta look at the size and weights that were reported, but there were occasional wolves taken in the 1800s, and they were almost always singles, which indicates they're probably males exploring or just single wolves exploring, looking for new habitat. And then I have a report that indicated in the 1920s and 30s, there was 7 wolves that were removed by Wildlife Services, by Animal Damage Control in Nevada. Hall reported that in 1946. And all those wolves were taken in northeast Nevada except one that was taken in Washoe County. So that was kind of near the end of wolf sightings in Nevada for quite a while. And then we went in through the EIS, or the endangered species process, and wolves were reestablished, as we all know. And since wolves have been reestablished in the Rocky Mountain distinct population segment of wolves up there, we've been seeing more and more sightings of wolves in Nevada again, similar to the 1800s. We document maybe 1 or 2 a year that are pretty reliable. And I was keeping track of those in the eastern region. I was there 18 years. I think I have a list of 15 or 16 that seem pretty reliable. We've gotten a few more in the last couple of years. So it appears that as they reestablish wolves in the Rocky Mountain area, that to the north of us, we're getting that same exploration occurring again. And so wolves apparently are coming down into Nevada. The interesting thing is at this point we haven't come up with a wolf body or DNA or anything else. We haven't come up with hair stuck on a fence, a roadkill, no one has shot one. The other interesting thing is that we haven't had a livestock problem yet, because if we do, they will still call out Wildlife Services to take care of it. And so we do have one scat that was sent to us last summer that's at a lab and being checked for DNA. They came from Elko County, so there's a possibility that some of the wolf experts looked at it and they're thinking it might be a wolf. So we might actually get a modern documentation of wolves in Nevada. So other than that, since they delisted wolves in 2009, then it went into the courts. And just a couple of weeks ago, that the courts upheld that delisting of wolves. So they're delisted again in the Rocky Mountain DPS. So we are not a part of that. And what Nevada has done was to keep out of that. We have participated in the process, and I have a statement from the director of the Fish and Wildlife Service after Director Mayer sent a letter of concern and expressing to the Fish and Wildlife Service that we actually want to stay out of that DPS. And it says in here that you asked specifically that Nevada be excluded from any distinct population segment established for management of wolves in the northern Rocky Mountains. The service has not included any part of Nevada within the boundaries of a northern Rocky Mountain DPS to date, and we do not anticipate that we would do so for any future listing determination for that population. So that shows that the input we provided, the history I described, and the lack of large ungulate populations that would support wolves has worked well and stated our case. And now wolves have moved into Oregon and probably from the Rocky Mountain DPS, and there's also a small population of wolves in Washington State, probably from Canada. So the service is looking at a Northwest DPS right now. And so currently we're involved again in the process as they try to set up a potential map that will define the area for that Northwest population. They're looking at about 3 different versions. And one of the maps includes parts of Washington, Oregon, and then they're trying to take in the Central Valley of California, which of course historically had huge populations of ungulates that supported some wolf populations. So they're trying to draw the map all the way down into there. And by doing so, as you can imagine, there's a big chunk of the map that goes down in California, and there's a piece of it up in Oregon. So they're trying to look at a corridor, how they would have gone through Nevada. And in doing so, they've made 3 versions of the maps, and 2 of them keep the lines just barely on our border, and they barely intrude right around the Reno area along the Sierras. They intrude a little bit into Nevada, but there was one version that included a potential piece of ground that would go all the way from Reno to Winnemucca, all that north of Interstate 80 in that stretch, which we are contending, of course, that that's in the rain shadow of the Sierras and some of the driest part that does not support sufficient ungulate populations to actually ever have wolves or support wolves in the past or now. So we're engaged in the process. We'll continue to do so. Russell Wolstenhume's been engaged with the group that's looking at that, and we'll continue to provide the same information we had and that we did for the Rocky Mountain situation. We're hoping it'll prevail, and the logic will continue on through this process for now. So we don't expect it to be included in that. So the thing about that is as long as we're always not in any DPS, wolves are therefore protected by federal law in the state of Nevada, and they are managed essentially by the federal government on that. So they're illegal to take. The federal government would investigate any deaths of wolves, whether it's accidental or if you had to shoot one for protection of your livestock or yourself. It would all be handled through the Fish and Wildlife Service. And in the state of Nevada, they're listed as a big game species, which this Northwest group has indicated is a good thing because they are essentially protected by state law. This commission has the power would have the power, to open up hunting if we ever. The only way it could open up hunting is we'd have to be part of a DPS, we'd have to have a management plan, we'd have to accept having wolves in our state, but we're not going there. So by not going there, we won't have wolves established in the state, and therefore we won't be hunting them. Any situations or problems with wolves will be handled by the federal government and wildlife services. So does that make sense?
I do have a question. Can you describe what the process would be if they, in doing the Northwest DPS map and were to choose this Reno to Winnemucca, what opportunities would we have to respond to that? And in other words, what procedural mechanism is in place to do that, and how would, I assume we have a plan that we're not gonna just take that, because that's not good.
Well, a number of things might be left open. Of course, if they made the determination against our recommendations and our will, we could sue them. And Ray talked to our DAG about that. And we let the service know that too, because I have a problem with the DPS, by definition, is supposed to be an area from which to recover the animal. Well, Nevada would never have wolves, so to include Nevada in a DPS to recover a coastal population, or whatever they want to call it, doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I'm pretty hopeful that we're fully engaged. Russell was on the initial conference call. They've asked for some data. We've provided the data, so we're actively involved, letting them know for sure what our perspectives on things are.
Commissioner Schrum?
Mr. Gilbertson, I've got a question for you now. Bear with me, I may not have this pronounced right, but are you aware of, or familiar with a Neospora caninum? It's a microorganism that's present in the gray wolf. A gentleman named Charles Kay has been doing articles on the gray wolf, and he's dealt with a variety of issues, but this thing with the disease seems to be the most dangerous thing, other than the fact that the wolves are wiping out the elk and everything else that they take a liking to. But anyway, this microorganism is present in the wolves and in their intestines, and of course in their scat, and of course, normal thing for a hunter when he's out fooling around, he comes onto a scat, the first thing you do is pick it up, roll it around your fingers, see what it's been eating, and try to figure out who left it. And when you do that, these things are so small, it's almost like maybe like a piece of dust or something, but it gets in your lungs, or if your pet dog, walks through it and brings it in the house, or kids bring it in the house, or maybe picks it up, puts it in their mouth, it can lay dormant for several years, and all of a sudden you come down with an illness, and a lot of times the doctors can't find it. When they do have it, it usually settles in your liver, and the pictures that he sends out are pretty graphic, and the recovery is also pretty intense and pretty graphic, and it's a very serious problem. There's a huge cyst, and I didn't know if you had come onto that or aware of that.
I've actually read that article that he put out.
And it's something that we're gonna have to deal with if we ever are stuck with a wolf problem, and that's one of the last things we really need.
It's not only in wolves, it's in other predator
Right.
species, and trappers
carry
should be aware of that and be careful too when they're handling it.
Primarily the gray wolf. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're done with the wolves. The next item was the Area 10 mule deer research findings, Tony Wasley, wildlife staff specialist, but we had this on the agenda for yesterday, and Tony was here, present, and ready to rock and roll on it, but he had personal obligations today, and so when we moved it today, at our, because of our time issues yesterday, what we're going to do is we're going to move this to September. I'm not even sure if there was much to report in any event, but anyway, we'll go ahead and move it to September, and Tony can report on it then. Okay, now let's see. I think we now need to go to Department Leadership Activity Reports. Okay.
It was sent on Thursday. Department activity report came.
Oh, yeah, right, the June just went out.
Right.
We're trying to change the format. I'd sure like input back, kind of going instead of a narrative style, a bulleted style. and try to keep up on it, and hopefully we can, with all the other stuff that flows through one person, to try to keep it up to date, but I would certainly like input if you'd like a different format than that. If we do this on a more current basis, it's better for you, I think it's better for us, because we used to, when I first got here, produce a huge report that you'd have to plow through several weeks of all the things that are going on in the department. I also mentioned as a sidebar to this, we're attempting to get out more in the regions, and we're going to have our leadership team meeting this month in the Elko office, and we're going to have all the staff in to just discuss from soup to nuts. We're going to have our leadership team meeting, which we do planning for the coming year, and we're going to do a field trip for one day to look at Ruby Pipeline and some of the things that are going, the overpass for deer. Some folks have never even seen that, so we're looking forward to that, and that will be reflected in the future reports.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think what we're going to do now is move over to agenda item 27. Future commission meeting, Director Kim Mayer and Commission Chairman action. Next commission meeting is scheduled for September 23rd and 24th, 2001 in Las Vegas. And the commission will review potential agenda items for that meeting. The chairman may designate and adjust committee assignments as necessary at this meeting. So, you want to go ahead and comment first?
Yeah, I might comment. It was suggested, I think, by Dag Howell, that it is possible. I know that yesterday you had some discussion about changing the venue for the Bear folks and directed me to look at potentially a video conferencing site so we could do that. One of the things that was mentioned, it is possible for us to organize and agendize properly a change in venue next week, where we can get you on the telephone and you could actually select to have the meeting in Reno, in Toto, instead of having something split with the video conferencing. Because I quite frankly don't know where we can have the video conferencing ability, because what we have in our office doesn't talk to BLM, it doesn't talk to NRCS, those kinds of things. So anyway, I throw that out as an option for you to consider.
Okay, so you feel comfortable that we can, when I spoke to our dad yesterday, told that so you feel strongly that we could go ahead and, because I would actually prefer to move the meeting to Reno,
Right.
Rather than just all the photo conference and stuff.
I'm still back on the idea about calling another meeting at which you could make a motion to change the venue.
Okay.
And you can't do it today.
So we can't do it today.
Because it wasn't noticed.
Okay. So what we're talking about is kind of like an emergency meeting, just a quick teleconference meeting that we set up, just like we did.
Yeah, I can kind of, I guess, add to what Director Mayer said. So, like Cassandra Joseph said yesterday, the way number 27 is agendized, it doesn't allow you to change the venue from Vegas to Reno, so you would approve it the way it is. However, what Ken suggested, what Wayne suggested is that under 501-177, you can have an emergency or a meeting based on need, and then at that meeting, that you can probably just call in, and it'll be a public meeting. We'll agendize it for the public as well, just like this meeting. And at that meeting, you can have this one item, which is to move the meeting that if you approve in Vegas to Reno or any other location, I guess.
Okay, so as part of this agenda item, do we even mention that, or is that something that we're gonna do independent of this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, I think you can just direct the director to develop the agenda and post it.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. I think the preference would be that we, and I'll go ahead and get some comments, but I think my preference would be is that let's do the meeting in Reno, just a single meeting, and that way we don't have to mess with any of the video conferencing and get everybody's involvement. So anyway, I think we got some comment on that issue, but anyway. Is there anything? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and take, Commissioner Rank, go ahead.
Just a suggestion, if it might clarify where things are going, you might entertain a motion to hold that next meeting, and that'd probably tell the world where we're going, and we could have a motion to have a special meeting. And that would probably, by that motion and how it passes, it'd probably make fairly obvious where things are going, and then we'd know whether or not we should waste the time and effort to have a special meeting. Just a suggestion, I'm throwing that out there. We could have a motion to have a special meeting
I don't think we can do it because it's not.
under future commission meetings. Can't we do that?
I think that was
To
what.
have another meeting?
That was,
Chairman, this is just an administrative issue. Chairman, my suggestion would be Chairman Macbeth, just simply talk to the secretary and arrange it. And there's nothing to talk about here today. It's just one of those, it's a need. It's covered in statute.
Commissioner Shrum.
Would we be budgeted for a special meeting?
I believe that we do have, at this early stage, a budget, and hopefully this meeting would be,
Teleconferences should be, there's no cost, no per diem. You call in from your home, we'll set up a phone number that you can call in. It'll last 5 minutes maybe.
We've done it before. It works fine.
okay, with that, I will direct the director as the secretary of the commission to go ahead and make arrangements to have that emergency meeting or that special meeting with the sole purpose of, the sole agenda item being to change the place of the September 23rd and 24th meeting from Las Vegas to Reno.
And we have checked and the room's available for those days.
Right, the only thing in September, there's a lot of special events in Reno, but I don't believe that weekend is any, right, air races are over, all that.
That could be street vibration weekend.
That might be the only thing, but I think we could get hotels, because I was able to get a hotel even right now for, you know, during hot August.
That shouldn't be a problem.
So I
We'll take care of it.
We'll put it
And you'll be hearing from us first
Right.
Monday or Tuesday.
Right,
Okay.
I think it's,
I'll also make the comment that I will be proceeding to work with the secretary to determine committee assignments. Not only committee assignments, but we're going to take a good hard look at as to what, whether we need to have certain committees or whether we need to add additional committees. And so there'll be some work on that. And so by the time we get to the next, when we get to the September 23rd, 24th meeting, and possibly even in advance of that, we'll have made communications on the committee assignments. Okay, any other comment by the commission with regard to the agenda for September 23rd, 24th?
Mr. Chairman, I think you need a motion to accept the, It's an
We've got
action
this as an
item.
action item, and so I think we need to bring it back to the commission for any further comment, then take it out to the public. We do have some cards on this particular agenda item from the public, and so we'll take take their comments. So anyway, I'm gonna, Commissioner Shrum.
If we're contemplating changing the meeting location for the September meeting, now's there time to notify all the cabs and get their input too? Between now and then, we only have a short amount of time. Under this new procedure of getting their input, before we do anything.
Well, the cabs will have, no, the cab, on something like this, I don't think, this is not, I don't think this is anything that we need to do. Now, what we're gonna do, I can just tell you that, I don't think this is gonna affect cab budgets, or I don't think anything, because what actually, the second part of this is when you see the next agenda item, we'll get into it, we were thinking about changing, to Las Vegas, from Reno anyway, and we were thinking about a March meeting switch, but I think at this point, the switch is gonna be with the September meeting. Is that kind of the thought process?
yes, I mean, the option for the February switch anyway, so this would be a net zero-sum game.
Okay. So yes, no comment, you know, the CAPS can certainly participate in the meeting and in the teleconference, you know, as anybody else can, but, you know, they're not gonna be setting their own CAB meetings to deal with this one line issue. Any further commission comments? Commissioner Howell?
items for the agenda? You're not taking that yet?
No. Do you? Sure, yeah, well, how did you, how do we do that? How is that normally done?
I just generally at this point, if anybody, just historically speaking, if individuals on the commission had items that they'd like to see on the agenda, this was a good venue to bounce those out. And of course, you know, later on, you know, you'd also follow, but this was a good venue to give maximum public and notice that this, and it was also a really good idea if they'd throw it out, because then staff had immediate notice, you know, they got the maximum amount of time to get ready for it.
Okay, so when I asked for commissioners to comment on this particular agenda item, then that this is the point when you, if you have an agenda item that you want us to consider, to go ahead and set forth what you have in mind. Go ahead, Commissioner Howell, if you have some.
Okay. Two items. Yesterday, during my little, well, actually it was Patrick's presentation on the commission, finance committee, I suggested, and the committee voted on budgeting for 9 meetings, even though we generally only have 7, and last year we had 8, but generally we only have 7, but we should budget because we're allowed to by law. So if it comes up that we need an extra meeting, we've got the money already, it's in place, rather than have to scrounge around for it. I'd like to have that on the agenda as an action item, so we can vote on that.
Okay, we'll
Okay, the
we're
second.
gonna have the bear issue, and so we're gonna be challenged, you know, at that meeting, but we'll.
That's a simple.
Yeah, and I guess what I'll say is that, you know, we'll certainly consider all these things, and, but I think we have a little bit of discretion as to, you know, whether we do them at the next meeting or when we actually do them. And the other thing is that, you know, the finance committee is, we're gonna have new committee appointments and additional, you know, involvement there, and so I imagine that we could also, as an option, also have the new committee, you know, look into that issue as well. But anyway, so I've got it written down. Okay.
Okay, one other thing is that, something that we passed last, I believe it was in September last year, was to make the wolf an unprotected species in Nevada. And I understand that's contrary to what the feds want us to do, but this is a state issue besides being a federal issue. And I've corresponded with the governor's legal counsel because of the governor's mandate that we can't change any regulations right now. And after a couple of emails back and forth, he never answered me back for the last part of it. I'd like to pursue that, and because we did pass it, I'd like to pursue it and see if we can get an exception from the governor for that one simple thing to do. And that way, none of our game wardens are gonna be involved if somebody accidentally shot a wolf thinking it was a coyote. We could put it on the agenda to pursue the governor's office. I know we got some friends of the governor around here now, so we need to use that.
I think maybe the best thing to do there is we'll maybe put that on as a as an item that that we take out to the cabs and we get input from the cabs as to what they think about that. I know the commission as constituted prior to July 1 certainly had strong beliefs about that, but I seriously doubt that that's going to go anywhere under the newly constituted commission, but we might throw it out just so that you're confirmed as to how everybody feels about that particular issue. So anyway, I've got that written down too. Thanks. Any further commission? Commissioner Drew.
Just a couple, and I think it goes back to my comments from yesterday, but one of them obviously would be the informational update on the sage-grouse. If we could get the BLM state office, which is probably more conducive to have that happen in Reno, as well as Steve Abel to get the federal perspective, and potentially even NRCS. Also, as an action item, looking at policy 51 and reverting back to the August 2003 version of that policy, and the potential for suspending policy 28 until we can have a further review by the cabs.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners? Okay, then having gotten all the commissioners' comments, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to the public. We've got a couple cards. We're going to do the cards first, so Mike Smith.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Oh, my name is Mike Smith. I live in southwest Reno. For those of you familiar with the area, it's up near Galena, about 6,000 feet up near the Mount Rose Wilderness. I'm just here to request, and I'm glad to hear that you are considering changing the venue for the next meeting, or agenda issues, or whatever we have to do, so we can have a voice there. We've got a group here and a group here. I'm probably somewhere here on that issue, so I'd like to be able to have my voice heard there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Catherine Smith.
Good afternoon, I'm Catherine Smith from Washoe County. I also live in Galena, obviously. I'm also requesting that you change the venue for the next meeting so it can be held in Reno where we can have our voice heard, since we're going to be more affected by this bear hunt than anybody else in the state.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Dixon.
Paul Dixon, Clark County. Traditionally, September is the fishing regulations meeting that we have with the commission. And so because of that, there's two things that I'd like to see if we could get information on at that meeting. One of them being with the water levels rising in Lake Mead, when is there an estimate if we could ever reopen the hatchery there for local fishery rearing for Lake Mead? It would be nice to know from the Department of Wildlife what the estimates are on that. And secondly, as brought up earlier, I think today, yesterday, AB 165, the Invasive Species Act, that was a statute that was put in. Where do we stand with NDOW on setting things up for that? Because as you heard, I think that has to be in place by January, so it'd be nice to get an update of where NDOW has gotten to that, and if there are any issues, and if the cabs can help with anything out there in the intermeeting between September and December meeting. If there's something that NDOW needs from the cabs to help at various places to organize or to educate, if we could get that information, then we would love to be of assistance in helping making sure that 165 gets implemented properly. And lastly, we didn't have it on this agenda, and it's been on agendas for a while. I know it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I'd like to find out a status of where and things that are going on with wild horse roundups that are happening, any pending legal actions and other things that we're working on as a Department of Wildlife or commission related to wild horses is informational, are just things that I think
we need to come back to, and your choice of whether you're gonna reconstitute the Feral Horse Committee or Wild Horse Committee, whatever we wanna call it. I know you'll come out with that, but it would be nice to kind of get a little bit of a background to where we're headed with those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public on agenda item 27, on the agenda and the items, anything having to do with the September meeting? Okay, there being none, bring it back to the commission. Any comments? Commissioner Rob.
Mr. Dixon reminded me of something when he said rising lake levels. With the amount of water coming down the Walker River this year, I'm sure Walker Lake has come up a tremendous amount, because I drove the Walker River Canyon last week and it is still running full. I'm just wondering if NDOW is monitoring inflows, the amount of feet the lake has come up, if we've done any water quality analysis on it, because I believe we stopped stalking that because the water quality was to a point that we lost that fishery. If we have consecutive years of that, what is the prognosis of Walker Lake, and how are we monitoring that situation?
Deputy Director Rich Haskins, do you propose to have a report on that in the future? I can update you right now.
In the future's fine.
Okay.
That was just, you're going over future agenda items.
Okay.
Okay, this is an action item. Anybody have any particular motions they want to make? They can make them. Other than that, I'm going to move on to number 28. It's actually somewhat related to this. So, okay, seeing no motions, we'll go ahead and move on to item 28, which is 2012 Commission calendar change, Secretary Mayor action, and Secretary Mayor had to head out. So is somebody going to take his place on this?
Mr. Chairman, Rich Haskins, Deputy Director. As is proposed here, Director Mayor's proposal was to move the February meeting to Las Vegas to take advantage of allowing the Commission of Sportsmen to attend the International Sportsman's Expo and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. They've offered us a room to have the meeting close by at the convention center there, so it would be very convenient for sportsmen and the commission to enjoy those opportunities.
Okay, the idea originally was to swap the February 3rd, 4th meeting in Reno to Las Vegas, and then to move the March meeting to Reno, I guess, or to, have the March meeting in Reno. But with the recent interest in having the September meeting in Reno, I think that maybe the best thing to do would be to go ahead and make a motion to make the change on the February 3rd, 4th meeting from Reno to Las Vegas, and the motion, any motion that comes out of the our emergency or special meeting that we're going to have to move the Las Vegas September 3rd, September 23rd, 24th meeting to Reno will basically work, everything will work out at that point. So I guess at that point, I will just go ahead and make them, well, I'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission. This is an action item, we have to have public comment. So that's kind of what we have in mind. Commissioners, any comment? Okay, seeing none, take it out to the public. Any public comment on this? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve switching the Reno February 3rd and 4th, 2012 meeting from Reno to Las Vegas.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further comment by any of the commissioners? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Looks like it was unanimous, 8-0. I think we're done.
That's public comment.